I always look and see what God finna do. Like I got somebody really attacking me right now. I mean, really going after me, man. I'm just waiting to see what God gonna do. Cause they're gonna have to get on.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and he...
So it looks like Steve and Katt are going to end up in a good old cat fight after all. These two have been beefing for years now, but things hit the fan when Katt decided to drop some major bombs during his performance on Club Shay Shay podcast a couple of weeks ago. Katt had the entire internet on fire, attacking the likes of Chris Tucker, Cedric the Entertainer, Kevin Hart. Nobody was safe, especially not Steve. In fact, Katt did Steve during a huge chunk of the interview, calling him out for stealing jokes, lying about being homeless and whatnot. And Katt didn't pull any punches, but Steve's about to make Katt regret ever coming after him. He threw some major shade at the comedian, leaving the ball in his court. And I'm telling y'all, the drama just got rizzled.
Now, you know, I done heard all of the YouTubes and I done heard all the interviews and all like that, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. So this here little beef thing that everybody wanna start, cause you wanna make a name for yourself. That's cool, do you.
Okay, so unless you live on top of a mountain without an internet connection or under a rock somewhere, you probably have seen Katt's viral interview with Shannon Sharpe a couple of weeks ago. Now, for years, Katt has been dropping hints about the dark side of the industry and here and there, but he really let it loose on Club Shay Shay. Now, for those of you who don't know or haven't had a chance to sit down and watch the whole 3-hour shocking long interview, but allow me to address the hot topics. Katt took shots at everybody in the industry, and I mean everybody, but the comedian who got the worst of it was Steve Harvey. Now, Steve and Katt have been beefing for ages, and it goes all the way back to when they both started at the line. But then Steve hit it big, leaving Katt in the trenches. However, Katt has a few words for everybody who's impressed by the Harvey-ator. According to Katt, Steve didn't just magically make it to the top. He pulled some really dark stunts to get where he is today, and I mean dark. For starters, Katt said that Steve stole the whole idea of the Steve Harvey show from Mark Curry. Yeah, you heard that right. Katt said that Steve had a habit of going to other comedians' shows back in the day. Now, they all thought that Steve was being a good sport and was rooting for them and supporting, but instead, something shadier was allegedly going on. He was taking notes on the side, and Steve planned to reuse the jokes years later. And if you think Katt's reaching, don't worry, because he definitely came with the receipts. And according to him, back in the day, Steve watched Mark Curry's sitcom Cooper, hanging with my man, hanging with Mr. Cooper. And that's where he got the idea for the Steve Harvey show. Now, sticking to the facts, Mark's sitcom ran for 5 seasons from 1992 to 1997 on ABC. And meanwhile, Harvey's show came out in 1996, a long time after Curry made his debut, and it gets even shadier. Following Katt's interview, fans jumped on the internet to find proof of Steve stealing, and what do you know? It was all there. Fans stumbled on a clip of Curry performing a bit of Halloween in 1999, and then a video of Steve performing the same joke with a few things switched up in 2005.
In costumes, 8 kids, please. Mama sent us down to the liquor store, put boxes on us. We didn't know what we were. I don't know what we are. I don't know. She didn't tell her.
Halloween, I had the same outfit on every year. I just had a brown box. No, it wasn't nothing sad. I asked my father, could I have a new outfit? And he said, no, just wear the same one. And it was just a brown box.
Now, say what you want, but the receipts are there. And that's not all. Mark's been accusing Steve of stealing his material for years now.
So what's up with you and Steve, man?
Ain't nothing with me. Well, Steve stole my material on his show, so I had a beef on that.
On what show?
When he was on the bullshit talk show he had. And he did all my Halloween material one Halloween. I'm watching, somebody called me and said, man, homeboy doing your material. So he did my whole Halloween run. And I know he didn't think of it. This is true stuff that really happened to me. And so my thing is, you don't have to do that, homeboy. Right. So, you made enough money, ass, you know?
Not hang on Mr. Cooper. But back in 2020, Mark spilled the tea about Steve copying his jokes to a reporter outside of LAX airport in Los Angeles. And guess what? Mark revealed that Steve didn't steal his material once, but twice. He said, I saw him, Steve, and I went up to talk to him and I said, baby, you using my material, taking money out my pocket. You made enough money. You're very wealthy. You don't have to take it away from me. But then he used it on his other show, the kids show, Little Big Shots. And then to make it even more ominous, Curry looked directly into the camera and said, Steve Harvey, stop using my material. Just call me and I'll tell you how to use my material. If you're going to steal someone's material, at least do it right. But do you know what Steve had to say at that time? He told Mark to grow up and get a career. And then he said he never stolen a joke in 35 years. Really, Steve? I mean, it's not a coincidence. But Katt only amplified Mark's words and fans dug up the receipts. But if you thought that was all underhanded stuff that Steve did to get to the top, think again, because there's so much more, allegedly. See, during the interview, Katt never said that Steve stole his jokes, but fans decided to look into the matter anyways, and guess what? They found proof of Steve stealing Katt's material as well. Y'all, it looks like Steve Harvey has some serious splaining to do. Just look at the two comedians performing their gas station joke. And yes, Katt was the one to do it first.
Saying you are not supposed to be at the gas station making life decisions.
Can't even pump gas like you used to no more.
If you put $15 in your tank, you had time to bond with your vehicle. You had time to put the nozzle in and
Put the nozzle in there and hit it.
set the clicker and look through your car and clean off the dashboard and
Be sitting there talking, be on your phone. Hey, what's happening? Be walking around, cleaning the windshield.
Y'all, Steve didn't even try to hide the blatant plagiarism. Somebody called a cleanup crew because it's a tea spilling like crazy on wall 5. But Katt also called BS on Steve being homeless. So most comedians like to sell the narrative that came up from the dirt. It helped make fans feel more connected. And Steve Harvey seems to be a fan of that marketing tactic more than anybody. For years, he's been raving about all that he overcame to get to where he is today. Back in 2022, Harvey tweeted, I didn't get into comedy until I was 27. I was homeless from 30 to 33. I lived in a car for 3 years. Don't give up on your dreams. Now, no one's denying that Steve didn't work his butt off to get where he is today, but homeless? Well, Katt thinks it's a stretch. During the interview with Sharp, Katt said Harvey was never on the streets. In fact, according to him, Harvey was pulling in some serious money when he was touring with Mark Curry. Of all people, we're talking about $3,000 per show. That's still good money even now.
Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago. He was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week.
And what's more, Katt claimed that the homeless bit was his story. He was the one living in a car and worrying about paying rent, and Steve just stole his backstory.
Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless.
I mean, there could be more than one person that had to live in their car, right? Well, even after dropping that bomb, Katt wasn't done yet. He had more to say about Steve. For the next part, he went after Steve's career. Now, the comedian to movie actor path is given for most comedians in the industry. And Kevin Hart's the poster child. In fact, even Katt Williams did it. But Steve, he never made the leap. And for some, it's a big question mark. Now, I know I saw him on Love Don't Cost a Thing, but Steve definitely had the stardom, so why didn't he make it to the big screen? Well, if you ask Steve, he'll tell you that it was because he was juggling 7 shows at the time and he couldn't take on another project. However, if you ask Katt, it's a whole different other story.
Didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good baby and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range. I played a lot of characters, 60 movie roles. I'm not playing Katt Williams in there.
According to him, the reason that Steve isn't a movie star is because nobody wants him. In Katt's eyes, Steve doesn't have the chops for acting. And of course, he took a moment to gloat about his accomplishments in the movie biz, saying that, unlike Harvey, he got that range. But here comes the real tizzy. Katt pulled a one-up on Steve by exposing him for going after Bernie's role back in the day.
Then you asked it, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same that hated on Bernie with this same thing.
Now for context, the late Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey had the chance to do the King of Comedy tour back in the day along with D.L. Hughley and Cedric the Entertainer. Now these four really were the kings of comedy at the time, rocking stages across the world. However, there was a bit of a rivalry that was brewing behind the scenes, specifically between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. Now before the fans, these two were all laughs, but once the curtains closed, it was dogs and cats. The streets were always talking about Steve being a little jealous of Bernie. At the time, everybody thought it was just two men competing to be the king of comedy. However, things got real when Steve played dirty to get Bernie's role.
You called Ocean 11 to get that nigga part. What do you mean you didn't want to be a movie star? So on the behalf of Bernie.
Yeah, you heard that right. Word on the streets is that Steve was approached by director Steven Soderbergh for a role in Ocean's 11 when he had already picked out Bernie, and he offered to sign the contract for half the price. That is definitely sabotage. Well, Bernie even addressed the allegations in an interview with GQ magazine in 2003 before his passing. And let me tell y'all, he was not happy about it. When the interview brought up the rumors, he said, "Man, I heard about that. I was told about it." You know these people. Are you surprised? Tell me, are you really surprised? It's always about him. Him being Steve Harvey. Now, mind you, fans could clearly see Steve was always trying to steal the spotlight from Bernie. Even though the Kings of Comedy tour was meant to promote 4 black entertainers, Steve made a point of closing the show, making sure that everybody knew who the real star was. As for the allegations, well, Steve told his side of the story during an interview in 2010, 2 years after Bernie passed away. He said, "I was upset at first because it just wasn't true. Me and Bernie had a lot of good times together, and then this article in GQ came out and put all this vicious stuff in there." Harvey also acknowledged that he spoke with Mac about the interview. B said he never said it. I had to take him at his word for it. But fans knew all about Steve's dirty tricks by now. The fact that he was talking about the feud after Bernie had passed away was no mistake. He knew he had the floor, and he was making the most of it. To add to the drama, Cedric the Entertainer jumped in the drama in 2022 when he had some interesting things to say. He confirmed the rivalry between the two lead comedians and said that Steve and Bernie were really two alpha males hashing it out. They never got along.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they were the kind of guys that they both alpha males, you know, like they both, you know, they just saw it different, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they was able to get through it.
Now, everyone who wanted the Kings of Comedy tour too blamed the rivalry between Steve and Bernie for stopping it from happening. And guess what? Cedric confirmed that the beef was one of the reasons why the guys never got on tour again. He said, "I think, of course, that was, you know, definitely a contributing circumstance, but I also think it had to do with the promoter on the thing because he got a bigger head than all of us. The dude that put us all together started to really think it was about him, so it started to be that. So it was a lot of those kinds of elements." Of course, with Bernie passing away and Steve moving on to new things, the feud was long buried in the past. But Katt grabbed that shovel and dug up the old skeletons once again, and there was one man who thanked him for it, and it was DJ Ed Lover. During a recent episode of Come On Son podcast, Ed spilled all the tea about something everyone had forgotten about. And let me tell y'all, get your teacups ready because we about to spill. He practically confirmed everything Katt was saying. Ed revealed that he had been Bernie's friend up until the day he died, and he heard all about Steve hating Bernie's guts straight from the man himself.
When I tell you one dude that has never, ever, ever changed, y'all have heard me say this before, is Bernie Mac. Love Bernie Mac. And Bernie, the stuff that he said, Katt Williams said about Steve Harvey calling to try to get Bernie's role on Oceans and that kind of stuff, Bernie told me out of his own mouth. And Bernie, I've known Bernie. Like I said, we did Who's the Man to like 90.
Oh, and it's not just him. Bernie might not be around now to say his 2 cents on the matter, but his daughter Janice McCullough sure is. And listen, did she make her dad proud? She posted a clip of herself praising Katt, saying that she didn't meet Katt when Bernie was alive, but looking at the way he's talking about her dad, she knows the words from his heart are genuine.
I heard my dad, you know, say he's always seemed like a stand-up dude, so I have no qualms, no quarrels with him. I thought the interview was hilarious, entertaining. That man dropped so many one-liners that I'm sure we are going to be wearing down to the ground in this year of our Lord 2024.
Now what does it say when a daughter of your op is praising the guy that's dissing you? Don't know about all you, but some fans think it's pretty shady and they've been giving Steve the side eye. And get this, apparently after seeing all the cash that the kings of comedy brought in, we're talking $38 million, the upper management wanted to do another one, and they wanted Katt on the next. But he turned them down hard. Now why would Katt walk away from a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and a truckload of money? Because he didn't want to end up in Steve's line of fire and get treated the way that Bernie was treated. Katt also said that the only reason he shot to fame was because Bernie died. According to Williams, had Bernie stayed alive, Steve would have been struggling for the top spot.
Because you can't beat the best. And until you humble yourself, you will forever be kinged by the king.
Spooky. Well, on that note, Katt also didn't spare Steve's stand-up comedy career. Back when Steve stopped telling jokes on the stage, he said he couldn't find the time between juggling 7 shows, but Katt's calling BS on that one as well. According to him, Steve didn't have those 7 shows when he stopped doing stand-up comedy.
I told you that he stopped doing stand-up because he had 7 TV shows. The only problem is when he stopped stand-up, he didn't have those 7 TV shows.
So why did Steve Harvey make his exit from stand-up comedy? Well, Katt stuck his chest out and said that it was because of what went down in Detroit. Now, if y'all don't know, the showdown in Detroit was iconic. These two were scheduled to perform for the New Year's Eve show in 2009. Katt took the stage and he was literally on fire. He went after Steve's wig, literally. Toupees everywhere. But anyways, Katt said that Steve didn't want to show his face in the world of stand-up comedy after that public humiliation.
He stopped stand-up because he got in a comedy battle called the Championship of Stand-Up Comedy with one Katt Williams in Detroit in front of 10,000 people and lost because Katt Williams said he was actually bald and that was a wig. And I went in and that's why he couldn't do stand-up anymore. Imagine him coming to tell you another story.
Well, Katt turned a whole lot of heads with his words following the interview, and all eyes were on Harvey. And how was he just gonna respond to Katt? At first, it seemed like Steve was not gonna give Katt the time of day for a while. But then after Katt's interview hit the internet, the Steve Harvey Morning Show aired pre-recorded episodes only. It almost seemed like Uncle Steve was scurrying away into his little man cave. But like I said, almost. Now, on January 7th, all hell broke loose. Steve was back in the public and he had some words for Katt. It all started after the morning crew congratulated co-host nephew Tommy on his new reality TV dating series. And guess what Steve had to say? Well, instead of uplifting Tommy, his nephew, he took the chance to throw some shade at Katt. He told Tommy that it wouldn't take long for people to start accusing him of stealing the idea of the show.
Hold it, Tommy. So you a comedian, you a radio host.
Yes.
And now you got a game show? I'm finna go on Shannon Sharp's show and accuse you of stealing my whole damn career. I thought you supposed to go in there and enlighten people.
Now everybody and their grandma can tell that Steve was being petty. Oh, and if you think he stopped there, think again, because the big man was also looking to settle the score once and for all. On January 7th, 2024, Harvey shared an old clip from him with the set of Family Feud on X in between takes. And let me tell y'all something, Steve threw some real shade by posting that video. He was talking to the audience about dealing with haters. Of course, Harvey's a big name in the industry, so Katt isn't the only one taking shots at him, but you can believe 100% that he reposted that clip for Katt and Katt only. He said that he doesn't need to address his haters because they can all catch him on TV. Listen, that was a good one, but Steve thinks he's packing way more heat than Katt, and he made sure to rub it all in his face. Now, sure, Katt's not totally irrelevant. I mean, let's be real, especially after that interview, because Katt is touring and everything, but Steve is hosting TV shows, and he's got a whole lot more money, it seems. Now, for context, Steve's net worth is $200 million, and he earns $250,000 for every episode of Family Feud, and he brings in $10 million every year for hosting shows like the Miss Universe. Meanwhile, Katt's net worth is recorded at only $2 million to his name. However, he did call himself one of the richest men that ever lived during Club Shay Shay's podcast. But unless he's showing us his bank statement, we're just gonna stick with that $2 million. But circling back to the video that Steve posted, he talks about how you ain't never gotta address your haters. And get this, he believes that people only end up with haters when they're good at what they do. He also thinks that haters are sent by the devil to try to stop you from reaching greatness.
In the presence of mine enemies, he do it all the time. All my haters, I ain't gotta say nothing to them. They got TV. They can cut their TV on 7 days a week. All that hating, he on there.
Y'all, I don't know, he was reaching a little bit there, but that's not even the most shocking part. Steve then said that he got someone attacking him right now, but he's not going to say anything and instead continue on his path to greatness. Oh, and to add just a little bit of dash of more shade to the drama, Steve captioned the video, "You don't have to address your haters." Now the video is old and Steve never even name dropped Katt, but given the time of the post, it doesn't take a detective to figure out who exactly Steve was talking about. In fact, fans picked up on it. One ex-user commented, "Ignoring them is the best payback. They absolutely hate feeling unnoticed." Another commented, "This is his response on Katt Williams, don't need to do much." However, not everybody was having Steve's pettiness, with some calling it the Katt effect. Another fan commented, "You just did a technique that is called deflecting. That's typical when someone is called out. The exposers and truth tellers are called haters." How 11-year-old-ish. Honestly, Steve might need to reassess his strategy when it comes to this messy situation because comedian Lavelle Crawford thinks he's playing right into Katt's hands by addressing the situation. Now, Lavelle Crawford didn't end up on Katt's hit list, but I think he wishes he did because he's decided to insert himself into the drama anyway. During an Instagram live, someone asked Crawford his thoughts on the recent mess in the world of comedy, and here's what he said. "I think Katt, he just gon' talk. He one of them cats, man. He ain't afraid of nobody. He said what's on his mind, and he probably has some confrontations." As for the people Katt called, Crawford has a few words of wisdom for them. He said, "Comedians that he named, when you chime in on stuff, it just makes it more valid, you know? If it ain't true, you know all the money you got and all the blessings you got, why you on Instagram going, 'Oh, that ain't true, that ain't true, you making yourself look guilty.'" So if Steve really didn't steal them jokes and lie about being homeless, he should keep his little head down. Or else the fans are gonna end up side-eyeing him. But I gotta know what y'all think about it. Do you think that Katt is spilling facts here, or do you think he got a little too tipsy during the interview? Drop your thoughts and comments below and then check out this next video.